Hello, and welcome to Talking Llama with Connor. But today it's not just Connor. I have two more special guests for you. Aren't you the lucky ones? Here with me are my two best friends,
Joe Cawthorn.
and
Lewis.
nice to meet you, Joe and Lewis. So, I've invited Joe and Lewis onto the podcast today as they have little to no experience with Survivor. Everything they know about the program has been from me against their will. And I do apologize greatly to them because today they're going to be watching Survivor with me and talking about it from an outsider's perspective as people who've never seen the show before. For the first two episodes on this podcast, we've been talking about predominantly US Survivor. But today, due to the demand of Joseph,
My request, put in a special word with Connor before the show. Australian has been requested.
it has indeed.
So I hope you enjoy, guys.
We've decided we're going to talk about episode 7 of Heroes vs. Villains because I feel like it's quite a good episode for people who've never seen the program to have an idea of what's going on. It has quite a clear narrative. You don't need to know too much going into it, and it's just a hell of an episode with what's commonly regarded as the best tribal of all time. So, Lewis, can you give us a little bit of a background on what you currently know about Survivor?
Zero. Nothing. Nout. All I know is that there's a show in America and also Australia, and they compete to win a prize. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, interesting. We do also have Survivor in the UK, to be fair.
Okay. Well,
It's
there we are.
wasn't very good. Not that much of a secret, really. Joseph, same question for you.
So as you can tell, Lewis knows absolutely nothing. I also know nothing, but I know more than Lewis. I believe they compete for like £1 million or something in one of the series.
they do.
It's a pretty hefty payday. I know there's tactics. I know there's I don't know what they're called, but you can find something to stop you getting voted out.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that jazz.
And the poor boys are sat here wearing their Survivor buffs that I have given to them.
I am buff in more way than one, we should say. I'm buffed up, baby.
Buffed up as hell, baby. Right, well, have you got anything else to say before we go into watching the episode?
Yes, I'm here just for the food.
Yeah, Lewis has got 15 refreshers, and we're already down to 9. Right, let's get into it, and we'll see you after the episode. And we're back. We've just watched episode 7 of Australian Survivor Heroes vs. Villains. And let's go to Joe. What did you think of the episode?
It was fine. I'm not a reality TV program man. Bit late, since I'm on a podcast all about it. But like, as far as reality TV goes, it was good. I understand it more than I have any other episode if I've ever watched 10 minutes of one. Got some notes. I hate Jerry.
No.
Who brings a blazer to a beach?
Are you talking about George?
George, sorry, not Jerry, of course. Wait, who's Jerry then?
Jerry's the one that was...
He's the one that got sent to the other tribes.
Sorry, notes got confusing. George, knobhead. Jerry's fine. Jerry's absolutely fine.
He reminds me of someone. I can't remember who he reminds me of, but he reminds me of someone just like, I don't know.
Grandpa.
Yeah, like just an older man that's just like, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Okay, so we like Jerry.
Yes.
Yeah, so we like Jerry. Not a big fan of George.
No.
Now, I will say that personally,
like
George
George.
is my favourite Australian Survivor player
Okay.
ever.
But we're basing everything off this one episode, so obviously our views may be incorrect, but
Correct.
here's my initial views of George. This is what I have written down: Ryland lookalike, poser, faction leader. If you're not first, you're last. He didn't win. He acts like he's a winner. He's not a winner. And he's part of a faction called the Spice Girls. Huh? And like, come on.
I've got to say that the bit where they're talking about all the different Spice Girls and George's Scary Spice, Liz is Sporty Spice, Shawnee is Posh Spice, and then they say that Jerry's going to be Old Spice. I think it's comedy gold. Lewis, what were you going to say?
I was going to agree with Joe with the fact that I wasn't a fan of George in the beginning. I believe it's George. Is he the one that the ringleader?
Yeah,
of it?
yeah.
However, at the end of the episode, when they had the uh, backstabbing moment, and it was actually revealed that, spoiler alert, Fraser was going home. I thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
I thought his 200 IQ. It really put Simon in his place.
Yeah.
Made him look like a fool. And now I think leaving that little event, I think George felt like king of the world.
Yeah.
So I kind of like him. I kind of like him now. I like how tactical he was, and the fact that
He's
he
very
actually played
strategic.
everyone against each other.
He's known as King George in Australian Survivor.
I can see why.
Yeah.
See why,
Let's talk about that, actually. So, that vote off is crazy. I think it's probably the most cohesive vote in Survivor history from George's point of view. There wasn't a single angle he didn't cover. So, Shawnee and Liz both proved to be in his back pocket from that. And he already thought they were, but that vote really solidifies that they are clearly very much loyal to him.
Yeah.
Then, obviously, Geordie was willing to work with him, but him outing Geordie as this traitor who told Simon about the idol.
I think that was out of pocket. That was
Yeah.
unnecessary.
Agreed. I hate George, but he played it really well. When he spilt the beans on Geordie, that really pissed me off, though.
Yeah, it was unnecessary.
It was
very unnecessary.
So, go on.
Go on.
No, I was just saying it's very unnecessary. It's made. I think he was just doing that to put salt in the wound. I reckon there was no logical reason to out him, because if his plan went true and Fraser did get kicked out, he could then maybe use Geordie in the next one to kind of play around. But now he's outed Geordie as a traitor to George.
To Simon? What do you mean?
Geordie's the ginger guy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think there was no reason to out him as a traitor, because then he could have used him as like a inside man into Simon's. Who's Simon?
Simon's the one that's a bit like Owen Taylor. That's one of our friends, very similar to Simon Me.
Who's the guy that got made look like a fool?
Simon.
Okay, yeah. So he could have used Geordie as like an inside man into Simon's like next move. But the fact he burnt that bridge, I think, was a bit of a mistake. But it looked cool on television. It was very much like, ha ha ha, you've got no friends.
I think there are two sides to that. I think you're completely right on one side. I think it was the perfect move, because what George does in that situation is Geordie and Fraser were working with Simon, and he's aware of that. They have been working with Simon you've obviously not seen the episodes up to this. They've been very close with him, very tight with him. And suddenly they wanted to flip and were giving all this extra information. And from George's point of view, he'd much rather not have Geordie as this like snaky playing both sides person. So what he's done is, instead of voting Geordie out, he's kept Geordie around as someone who will basically have to vote with George now.
Yeah.
Because Simon now has no faith in Geordie at all.
Yeah.
He's completely ruined the relationship between the two of them and made it look like Geordie isn't to be trusted by Simon. So Geordie's going to have nowhere to run but to Simon. Imagining Fraser was still there, he'd have Fraser.
Yeah.
Then obviously got rid of Fraser as well. So Simon's now got no one to turn to. And Geordie only has George's group to turn to.
Sure.
And now he's in the minority.
Yeah, I mean,
otherwise.
it makes sense from his point of view, but like from our little exposure we've had, I think it would have been maybe better to keep him on the down low. Because I don't know what's happened in the next episode,
Yeah.
but in my head, I would have kept Geordie's undercoverness under wraps
Okay.
until the next one. That's just what I
Joe?
would have done.
Well, is this opinions on what I think of him snaking out, spilling the beans? Okay,
Whatever you're
well,
feeling.
I thought it was unfair. I thought Simon went into it overconfident. I thought he made himself look like a tit.
He did.
Annoyingly, because based off this episode alone, I liked Simon. At first I thought he was playing it so well that he made him vote for Stevie, but then it was all a part of this master plan. I just hate George so much. I just don't like him. I think he has a bad tattoo. I just don't like him, and the fact that he's so smart with it annoys me even more. But he's got. I'd like to know. I don't even know who's won this series. I'd like to know who won the series, to be honest.
Lewis, would you like to know who won the series?
I would.
Is it if it's George? I'm gonna be so mad.
It's not George.
Okay, thank you. Did he come second again?
No, he doesn't, but he's the last one voted out before the final.
That's typical.
Because he's seen as too big a threat, and they know that if he's in the final 3 of this season, often it's a final 2, sometimes it's a final 3.
Okay, who wins?
Liz,
Who's Liz?
pole vaulter,
Who is Liz?
Exactly, who's Liz?
Olympian Liz.
Olympian Liz.
What did we
Is
think of
she
Liz
a
from this
hero or is it-
episode? She's a villain. She's one of the 2 girls that was with George. She's the one with the Olympic tattoo, the Russian one.
Was she the one that was sitting at the back or the front? Is she blonde or brunette? Or
They're
dark
both
hair?
blonde.
God, I haven't got a clue. She was so quiet.
She's the one that you enjoyed when they panned to her abs when she said she was sporty.
Oh, I thought that
spice.
was- I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, Joe has
Um,
notes on Liz.
During the challenge, Lewis actually shouted, and I've written it down. Come on, let the bra come off.
No.
Yeah.
She's our winner.
Can I just make a comment on that? No comment.
Yeah. So, did we have any opinions on Liz from that episode? It's not. She's not really the focus.
She just follows the crowd, man. She follows whoever's winning. No opinions.
I've got to say that I don't mind Liz as a winner, but it's not the most satisfying win
Question
in
for
a
you,
season.
with regards to Liz, is she a Olympic medalist or is she just an Olympic runner or whatever she is? Pole vaulter.
I am
Did
not
she get any-
sure.
Did she win anything or was she just there for the ride?
I'm not completely sure.
Should we Google that and fact check it?
Fact
Continue
check.
talking off that.
Keep fact checking.
I think she said she come first, but she didn't. She come second.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bit like George.
bit like George. Classic
Yeah.
George Zinger.
Classic.
Mm.
No, I think George is a bit like Marmite for most people.
Yeah.
He does come across as a bit of a willy. I'll give you that. But in terms of sheer entertainment to watch, I think he gives you everything you need. He has so many great lines in this episode. The whole glory or death thing, I think, is hilarious.
Yeah.
All of his back and forths with Simon are unbelievable.
She wins, is that right?
Yes, that is Liz. We got a fact checker on the case. On the Survivor wiki already after a day of
Honestly,
Survivor.
if she's on Survivor, I doubt she's a gold medalist because she'd be getting.
All it says is Olympic pole vaulter, which would suggest that she's not a medalist.
Yeah.
It would
No.
say medalist.
We have had quite a lot of like medalists on there, but no, it doesn't mean she is just because she's on the program. Would you like to go back to the start of the episode, Joe, and talk us through your notes?
Sure. These notes are very they're poor notes. I mean, I've got pre-show notes from what you said. I've got when the episode. Do you want to go from when the episode begins?
Go on.
Okay.
Or would you like to talk about what you knew going in?
If you like.
Why not? After all the effort
well,
you've gone through, I feel it's.
Okay.
I feel we should.
This is gonna be disappointing. I've got. Well, I know that Jerry's a podcast fan supposedly. I did have written down initially hero, but not for me. It just changed. I like Jerry. He's a good character.
If you're there, Jerry Gelch, hello from the people at Talking Llama.
Yeah, no, I like him. He's probably one of my favorite people alongside Stevie. Big fan of Stevie.
Stevie's
Yeah.
hilarious.
I like Stevie's a nice guy. And then I've gone into the Spice Girls and I've just basically just said who they are, what they do. Obviously, we've been through that a little bit. I said George looks like Ryland. Now I've gone to the Spice Boys, as I've named them. Said that Simon reminds me of Owen Taylor. And I've got something about the villains liking cookies.
Yeah.
There was a clue for an idol. I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. So, an important thing to note about this episode is that a couple of episodes prior to this, the villains tribe won a cookie reward, and in that jar of cookies that they won was a wooden amulet type thing that acts as a clue to the hidden immunity idol. Now, Simon doesn't realize this and believes that this just is the idol. And a lot of the episode rides on the fact that George is saying that Simon should play his idol for Stevie to prove his loyalty. Now, this idol doesn't even exist. And this is something that recurs for lots of the series. It takes a long time before we even realize, before Simon finds out that that is not a real idol. And I think Simon does come across as just a bit of a buffoon in this episode. And in all the episodes up to it. And he's actually one of my favourite Australian Survivor
He was
players.
so smug all the way through,
love
even
Simon.
crying when he won that bloody event with the fire.
Hilarious.
Like,
I love the way
It's
that
just
that's
comical.
I love the way that that's shot. Like he's like this villain looking into the fire like a crazed man.
Yeah.
And you know that
He
in
thought,
his
he
head,
thought he was him. He
this is
thought
his
he was
hero
him,
moment.
yeah.
Yeah. Go on, Joe. As someone who's a lover of the Simon, I'm also a lover of the Simon. I'd like to put
I
it out
just-
there that
yeah.
he's, other than George, he's my favorite character of the season. But he is a Willy in it.
I don't like Simon. I just like the fact that he also hates George. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because he is a bit of a knob.
What
But
did you think of when George asked Simon what he was doing? He said, "I'm going for a swim. What does it look like?"
well, what did it look like? You know, I mean, he was going for a swim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he thought he looked like James Bond coming out of the water. I think he was trying to like.
bloody did.
I think he was trying to like. I don't know, just trying to look like him.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite comical.
Yeah.
Can we move on to the little event, the Water Rocket League event?
Oh yes, of course.
So I got to make some comments about that.
Go on.
Could you just explain the basics of what happened?
Okay, so in this episode was there was no reward challenge this episode. It was only an immunity challenge. It seems like the events of this episode happened over one day, which is a bit bizarre for Survivor, but why not? Australian Survivor does tend to have a bit more leniency with how long they spend on each round of the game. But in this episode, there was a challenge, obviously heroes versus villains, we're not merged yet, where they were given this big wooden ball, and it was best of 3 rounds, and each round, 3 people from each tribe had to try and push the ball into a goal.
In water, may I add? It
In
in
water.
About, how deep do you reckon the water was? About a foot of water, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Go on.
Okay, so what I noticed was that they weren't really strategizing that much.
No.
If that was me, I'd be like, right, you 2 of us do this, you do that. They were just kind of going willy nilly and then changing. Oh, let's push it. Oh no, let's not. Let's go over here and push this one. I mean, what are they doing? They should be focusing and sticking on plan.
Yeah,
I was rooting for the who's the tall guy?
Sean
I was
Hampson.
rooting for him. He seemed like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he's someone who's played in a previous season. He did pretty well. He does quite well in this season as well. But he plays more like a villain this time, even though he's on the Heroes Tribe. A bit like JT in the US version of Heroes vs. Villains.
Didn't the heroes lose both rounds of that?
No, the villains lost both.
Oh, the
rounds.
villains were the ones that lost, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, in that case, I think I've written my notes wrong. But one of the hench-looking men, like most of them, they just look like they're not putting any effort in.
I think it was David Zaharakis you were on about.
They just look so weak. They got these
you
muscles, and they just look so weak. I said in my notes, I've said Simon, but I think it's wrong. Whoever I meant, I've put sissy boy. Push harder. Like they're just weak, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love when Sean rocks up when Shawnee's trying to push the ball on her own, though. He goes, ah!
Yeah.
And collapses. And
Um,
go on.
Joseph made a comment. Why aren't they taking the people off? There's
Yeah.
2 of them pushing and 2 of them like stopping them or holding it back. They're not going to do anything. Well, one of them needs to go over there and pull someone off.
Yeah.
Like that's how
Go for the-
that's
go
how
for-
it should work.
Go for the person, not the ball.
Yeah.
That's written down,
Yeah.
set in stone.
I saw you write it down.
Yeah. I love the bit where Geordie runs and gets a massive hit to his jaw. I think that bit's hilarious. I'm a big Geordie fan as well, but I've got to say that when you're on television, Geordie, I don't need all of this. Oh, come on, guys, let's calm down. This is just a game, which it is, and he is right. But George is giving us pure TV gold.
Yeah.
Don't try and calm him
I
down.
bet you the producers were like, "Shut the hell up, Geordie! Let this
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Let
yeah.
this happen."
This happened, exactly. I do think, though, that maybe the best part of that tribal council isn't George and Simon talking to each other. It's just Geordie's look of pain the whole way through. What did you think, Joe, about Stevie?
Okay, initial thoughts on Stevie. He's really friendly. I want to know what's under the top. He never seems to take his top off compared to
No.
the others. And I love a man who uses safe words.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Obviously, in relation to Mango Go 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 Papaya Abort, a classic moment in Australian Survivor history.
I thought that was so unnecessary, but it added a lot.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. I don't think there was any logical reason to use papaya or mango,
No.
but I think they both brought a lot to his character. And I like the fact he looks good for 62.
He
I
does. We
would
were all
have said
Looks
discussing.
amazing. I can't believe he hasn't got hair dye in there. He's still got a full head of just dark hair.
Yeah.
I think we guessed his age.
Yeah, you said
45 to 47.
Yeah.
So fair play to you if you're listening. Congratulations.
Well done, Stevie. You're looking damn good for your age. I'd love to see Stevie back on the season. He gets voted out just before the merge this season, so he's never made merge in a season of Survivor, which is a shame because he's such a great character.
Spoilers alert. Spoilers alert.
If they're on this channel, they've already heard a million spoilers. But I love the scene as well where George is swinging his idol in the air, showing off, and then Stevie's in the voting booth, voting for George, and then he comes back and goes, "Unbelievable." Classic moment. But no, Stevie is a top tier character for me. I think this is my favourite season of Australian Survivor, which is ironic because obviously Heroes vs. Villains is famously, by most people, seen as the best season of US Survivor. Second favourite for me. I'm currently wearing my Heroes vs. Villains buff. Villains tribe, of course. And naturally.
Yeah.
What aspects have you got to talk about in your notes, Joseph?
Honestly, they're weak notes. We've been through a lot of it we've been through quite a lot of it, honestly, already. But I think Lewis has something to say. But yeah, I haven't really got notes wise. I haven't got much more to say. I'll just give my thoughts and feelings based off where the conversation goes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. He's put a lot of effort into this podcast, and I respect it a lot. Thank you, Joseph. Right, Lewis. What were you thinking of? I heard a little ooh over there.
Okay, so as an outsider, jumping straight into what episode is this?
7.
7.
Yeah,
So
7,
quite
8.
deep into the season. What are they doing? Are they just bumming around, like voting? Are they literally just deciding who's gonna get voted out next? Like, why aren't they like improving their camp or going fishing or hunting for some wild boars or something? Do something other than just plotting against each other.
Yeah.
Because maybe they'd be more of a team.
Yeah.
'Cause I know the end goal is to vote people out, but they just seem to be just sunbathing, lounging around, just like, oh yeah, plotting against each other.
I will say that they do a lot of that stuff. This episode
Doesn't look
isn't.
like it.
I know. This episode doesn't show it as much. Fishing, especially. We always see them fishing.
Yeah.
Because there's always a fishing reward as one of the first rewards of the season. They win fishing gear, the winning
I'm
tribe.
sure the first episode probably would have shown them making camp or something,
Yeah.
but as jumping straight into this episode, all today was just them bickering and plotting.
Yeah. I also think that's a lot of the difference between US and Australian Survivor. I mean, modern Survivor is a lot like this anyway. US Survivor is famously overloaded with advantages and twists, a bit like Australian Survivor nowadays. But US Survivor definitely does show you a lot more of the survival aspects. You see a lot of them fishing all the time. You see a lot more of them getting their mangoes to eat and things, and how they cook the food. And
Do they wear sun cream?
now,
Because if they do, where's the sun cream and who's giving it to them? And
I-
what else are they going to be giving it to them?
I believe they do.
Are they giving them chocolate bars on the side? Like,
No.
because if they're giving them sun cream on the sly, because it doesn't show them giving them sun cream, what else are they giving them?
I think they do. They don't get lots of extra food. They get their beans and their rice, and obviously they can look for fish and things.
That's what they want you to think.
That is what happens.
That's what they want you to think.
They get all their fruit and stuff, and the reward challenges you didn't get to see one here. They tend to be massive meals, so the rewards aren't like have this little thing. They tend to be like a massive meal for them, and a lot of sustenance. Going off that episode, Joe, who was your favourite character of the episode?
Initially Simon. I just like him. I thought
He's hilarious.
yeah. But probably Stevie. He's just so friendly. He really is just friendly. That's all. Yeah.
He is, and he loves being sneaky.
Yeah, I would say it sealed the deal as soon as he mentioned safe words and he voted for George. That's when I decided.
He did.
Yeah.
Then, going off that episode, where do you think it leaves the villains' tribe coming into the future of the season?
It just looks like George and those women. I don't know their names.
Shawnee and Liz.
Yeah, they just look like they've got all the control. I mean, who is it then? Geordie, Fraser.
Fraser's
No,
gone.
not Fraser.
Stevie and Simon.
Yeah, they. Well, I suppose it's 3 versus 3, but I feel like George would just easily control the other two.
Yeah.
You know, so
Lewis, same question. Where do you think this looks like it's heading?
Okay, up until the last like 5 minutes when the final plot twist was done, I thought going into it, yep, George is going to get voted out. Um, because obviously I thought, well, until the idol was discovered or exposed by
Yeah.
Georgie, I thought, well, he's obviously going to get voted out because Simon's been saved. But now the fact that it all got panned out and Fraser got kicked out, I think it basically shows that George's like the puppet master of the team.
Yeah.
He's got everyone locked away. And if I was just gonna vote just off this episode alone, I'd say that George was going to be the successful one out of the group,
Okay.
just because he seems to be quite high IQ, or at least thinks he's a high IQ. And yeah, it just shows that he's got everyone under their thumb.
It does indeed. And who is your favourite character from that episode?
George,
Yeah.
because of the way he planned it, and it all transpired to come out in his favour and make him look like an absolute hero.
Yeah. We've actually got my dad passing past right now. Passing past. Going past currently. Who you may remember from the last episode. Dad,
I was the star of that episode.
we've just watched episode 7 of Heroes vs. Villains.
Oh yes, I remember that one. I remember that one well. What happened?
That is the episode with the George and the Simon bickering where Fraser gets voted out, where Stevie goes, unbelievable.
No, I've got nothing.
You can't remember? Unbelievable. That's your favourite bit.
I can remember him saying unbelievable, but I don't know why he said it.
Well, that means we do a rewatch, I guess.
Come sit down.
Yes.
Let's watch it.
I can't.
Dad needs a shower, so we'll leave him be. Enjoy. Thank you for that little cameo, Mark. So, one thing that Lewis picked up on in the episode was that the series was very similar to something else that we've watched. Would you like to elaborate on that, Lewis?
Yeah, so this whole series of Survivor seems like a very cheap rip-off of the Joe Schmo show,
Yeah?
which is a true classic in the Welsh community. For those that don't know the Joe Schmo show, you should know because it's a national treasure here in Wales.
All on YouTube.
Yes, I watched it illegally on YouTube, and I thought it was amazing and hilarious, and I
Yeah.
loved it. I said it looked very similar to how they do it, but Connor told me that it actually is the other way around.
Yeah.
The Joe Schmo show is a rip-off of Survivor. I think both are very good.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying Survivor.
Good news. Maybe we've got a future podcast guest. Then, one thing that the Survivor fans listening should know actually is that the Joe Schmo show is very interesting. It's about this regular guy who gets put into a fake reality TV show, which is like a blend of Survivor and Big Brother. But one of the early episodes, either episode 2 or 3, does actually feature Jerry Manthey of US Survivor fame on the Joe Schmo show. Fascinating stuff. Joe, what do you think about Jerry's decision to go back to the Heroes?
I don't blame him because I would not want to be in a tribe with George. But I'm surprised he did it. He pulled a double cross on the double cross, and then in brackets, double cross again. I'm just surprised. But initially I thought he was going to stay because I thought Jerry wanted a piece of the Spice Girls, but he didn't. I'm surprised he went back, but I don't blame him. I don't know how it'll pan out for the rest of the series, whether he'll get voted off or not. Which if he does, that's unfair. But I mean, he made his decision, so he has to deal with it now. Yeah, I think the villains thought he was going to stay. I think when the option came up, and then also I don't know much about Survivor, but turns out it's pretty crazy that he didn't get voted out on the other vote.
Yeah, relatively.
Yeah. So fair play to him. Big up Jerry.
Big up Jerry.
Big fan. I actually have written in my notes as well that he's 2 seconds. I have Jerry, Mr. Funny Guy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I wonder how the episode would have transpired if Jerry would have stayed,
That is a good question.
because his vote would have meant more.
Yeah.
I wonder if he would have had the sway and vote.
I wonder. I think he probably just aligns with George. I think he probably joins the voting out Fraser contingent.
He was Spice Girls City. He definitely would have voted George, and I think no, not George. Sorry,
Fraser.
Fraser. Basically he would have voted whoever George was voting for. Whether that would have changed because whether they would have still voted Fraser or whether it would have gone differently, I don't know. But I think he would have voted for whoever George told him to vote for.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Something you didn't really get to see in this episode is he had a very strong relationship with Shani, who's the person he went back for. She does get voted out pretty soon after he goes back, though.
I don't, just based on that episode, I literally have no idea of any of the heroes from this series. I don't know who any of them are really.
No,
so-
you don't get a picture of any of them,
Yeah.
really. You get a bit of Jerry at the start, but that's essentially it from the heroes that episode. And I will say that this season is very much villains focused anyway, because in the pre-merge, loads of them are getting voted out, and then in the post-merge, lots of them make it toward the end. But I will say for both of you that Jerry gets all the way to final tribal council and is in the final 3.
Nice. Jerry, I hope you're listening. If you are, comment something. Say, Jerry.
Go on.
Jerry, just comment something. Just say something to let us know you're listening.
Say SpongeBob. Then we'll know you've made it this far.
Okay, Jerry, if you're listening, say SpongeBob, and my friends will be very, very pleased.
And just like that, Connor's relationship with Jerry has fallen to pieces.
Jerry, my good friend, please,
You better be here.
you best be here. But no, I think that's quite a good episode of Australian Survivor to watch to get a picture of how the program works. Because a lot of people, you talk to them and you say about what Survivor is, and they have this picture of what Lewis says about how it's probably just about this bunch of people on an island living. Lots of people think it's like a Bear Grylls sort of thing. And it's not at all. It's about social politics. And you do get lots of survival stuff on the program. You do. But that's not at all the focus of it. And I think this episode is very heavily strategic. It doesn't usually get this full on. Like the tribal goes on for something like 40 minutes, something I've seen.
It was almost so strategic that I couldn't follow it at the end.
Yeah.
It almost got like, because obviously we're watching just this one episode, it almost got to a point where I didn't know what was going on anymore. Like the
Yeah.
fact they all voted Fraser, I was like, how? How do they all know? Like, how do they all know what they're doing? Like, who you know? I got lost a bit, you know?
No, I completely get it.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, the first time I watched it, I was blindsided by it. I thought,
Yeah.
What's this all about?
I saw it coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
We were sat down, and for the first 2 minutes, Lewis said, I bloody know what's going to go on here. And in the first page of my notebook, I believe Lewis wrote down something like, bye bye, Fraser.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just knew.
He just knew. It just came to him.
Yeah.
Anything to say about that, Lewis? Where did you get all those thoughts from?
Wild guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very quiet in the what they call it, the trial. Is that what they
Tribal
call it?
Council.
Tribal council. He was very quiet. Literally didn't say a word. I don't think he said a word.
No, I don't think anything came from
So-
Fraser.
If he did say anything, I bet he edited it so he didn't say anything.
We
Make him
actually
look-
get nothing from Fraser all season.
you forget about him.
You forget
Yeah.
about
Bear in
him
mind.
the whole season.
It's
If
for
I'm
the, it's
being
for the
honest.
best he's gone, I think.
Yeah.
He made bad TV, but I thought that I actually was gonna say, I'm glad I didn't because I would have looked stupid. But I was gonna say that I thought he's played it well because he's just stayed out of all the trouble. But then it just meant that he got voted off anyway. So unlucky.
He was just cannon fodder.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was completely.
He was just cannon fodder.
He just happened to be the last thing that could break any ties Simon could have to anyone else in the tribe. Him going meant that Simon had no relationship with anyone at that point. And obviously, Geordie is not very happy with George and could try and go back, but Simon now has no faith in him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all gone tits up for everybody except George.
It has indeed.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that's all we have to say on this episode, but hopefully we're going to be talking about some more episodes of Survivor in the future and seeing how this escalates and where my friends develop their thoughts on Survivor as people who haven't seen it before, I think it makes a lot more sense to watch a season chronologically. But as the first watch,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
thought it was a good idea to watch something that was a bit explosive
I think we should
almost.
watch the first episode of the first season.
No, I agree. Well, to come.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Joseph, any last words?
Thanks for having me, everybody. I surprisingly enjoyed it more than I thought I would. 10,000 likes and I will come back.
Okay, you heard it here first. Lewis.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised. I was screaming at the telly at certain points, which I didn't think I'd be doing. So I think it was a nice, pleasant hour and 10 minutes of viewing. And thank you for
good.
having me on the podcast.
Do our favourite moments from viewing.
Yes, favourite moments from
We'll go
viewing.
that side
We'll
first.
start with Lewis.
It's got to be when they're playing the ball game and the bra almost came off.
Oh.
It's got to be one of the best moments.
For me, it's got to be when George is talking about his legacy in the game, and Simon goes, "You didn't win though."
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Mine's got to be how George acts like he's a champion, which I know loads of people see him as that, but he's not actually even a winner of a single season. My initial answer was going to be when Lewis shouted, "Come on, let the bra come off," but he stole that from me. So that's my final sayings.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, and we shall see you on the flip side.